All right, thanks for your patience, guys. Happy to get it started. And I also want to thank our hosts, Apify and Massive, for having me here. I'm excited to be in Prague. All I've been told so far is there is a beer spa, but I do look forward to finding out more and exploring the city. So we have 10 minutes. This will be loosely technical, but feel free to grab me afterwards if you want to go deeper on any of the topics. What we're going to be discussing is what keeps a lot of us here in business, and that's anti-bot systems and getting blocked. So first, a quick intro for myself and the team. So we're String. We do large-scale public web data extraction for large businesses, primarily hedge funds, but any public data use case. So quick stats, we collect 4 billion rows of data per week, around 2 terabytes of data transfer, and we're scraping for 6 of the 10 largest funds by AUM. So if you want to talk about data and finance specifically, also come find me or any of our other team members that are around here. Now, into setting the scene. So most of the room is probably familiar with this already, but you can generally think of scraping as 3 layers. It's first getting the raw data, so that's the fetch layer, making that data useful, that's a parsing layer, and then validating that in a useful format. Each adds different value, and each fails for different reasons. We're going to be focusing in on the first layer here, getting the raw data, which is also where blocks happen. So fetching is the foundation of getting data. If this fails for any reason, loudly or silently, everything downstream is going to cascade, snowball, and cause issues. And if you're an infrastructure provider, that means for your customers as well. So silent failure here is an absolute no-go. And you need to make sure you're accounting for that and that there's trust in each subsequent layer. So diving into why this is a problem. And this actually was something we encountered recently. We've been building out our own unblocking system internally. So an unblocker layer to that first fetch problem. And I'm going to be focusing the conversation around that use case, but you can imagine in any instance, it's important to make sure you have clean, structured data. So we've actually seen in the wild, when comparing ourselves against alternative unblocker APIs, tools for getting data, that vendors with serious mindshare are returning 200 when really what they're serving you is a CAPTCHA. Now, I'll show some examples here in a moment. As a human, it's very easy to see when you're actually getting blocked, but it's not the same problem when you're talking at scale, billions of rows, billions of requests, and making sure that that works consistently. There's at least 3 players that have this problem somewhere in their stack. There's even more that I'm sure we haven't even discovered yet. We just chose a few with great SEO to test and run this problem against. So to give you an idea of the examples and what might be misclassified right now, if you look at any of these, I think you might be able to safely say that's not the data that you would have been expecting to get. But these pages can come back with a 200 status code, 202, 429, 418. I would say look that one up if you like T. And any other number of page formats, status codes, titles that lie about what they're actually intending to get. And if all you're provided, say in the case of an unblocker API, is a URL, you have no context into what the in format is meant to look like. So you have to find some other way to try and determine it. Let's take a look at, I mentioned a few providers earlier, if you're curious to know. We ran a quick test of 31 sites. So these are ones that have heavy anti-bot systems. That's both well-known providers and some custom use cases. The methodology was pretty simple. We just sent 5 requests against each of these specific paths within these domains, and classified them as partial success, block, or success marked as a false positive. So when you would get a response that's marked by the provider and billed by the provider as a success, that's actually a failure. This comes with the asterisk that these are higher difficulty sites, and I don't want this to look like a total trust me bro benchmark. We obviously optimized and wrote the classifier, solved this was a problem we were solving for that the providers might not necessarily have been, but it's still always going to be problematic for your downstream data if you're receiving something that is marked as success when it's really just verify that you are a human. So I'll link to the full methodology and benchmark at the end of the chat if you're curious to see the full set of domains and the full process that we followed here. But I do want to move on. I think I might be having technical difficulty here again. So give me a second here. Okay, cool. To why this is actually a difficult problem to solve. And it's because your outcomes are not actually binary. It's not always as simple as I'm blocked or I'm not blocked. There's at least 5 cases, even more than this, that all have different resolution strategies depending on what you're ultimately being served by the server you're making requests from. And it's difficult because the web owners, they choose the format of the data. They follow their own conventions, and they can send any number of terminal states. Now, the set of options isn't exhaustive, but it's a good illustration of how different results mean different actions are required. Like the happy path, obviously success. You immediately proceed with whatever your downstream process is. If you're getting blocked, still easy to resolve, but different. Maybe you want to escalate that. Maybe you want to retry with some different approach. If the data's moved entirely or it no longer exists, it's obviously non-retriable behavior. If there's a server error, you might need to retry again. And you can see how each of these format change, maybe even your whole system needs to be reconsidered if the website format has changed. Each of these requires a different strategy. And if you're misclassifying, then you're taking the wrong actions downstream. So how do we make sure that we actually classify correctly? I'm going to focus, again, just on the unblocker use case where you have like a limited input. All you're provided is say, like, get me the data from this URL. If you go beyond that universe, there's a lot more signals you can use. Like if you have some idea of what the shape of your domain's response typically looks like, you're now using additional feature sets that give you a lot more insight and predictability into validating your expected outcome. But with just the context of, we don't even know if the site exists anymore, tell me what the data is there, you have a much more limited set. So the problem lends itself to, I guess, a very classic classification problem. You want to build a feature set that's going to reliably predict which of these 5 terminal states you're actually in. And you're pulling out some different signals that are composite from the response you receive. So you can take the status code, you take the headers, look at things like script to text ratio. All these signals combine together to build your feature set that can be used to classify. And ultimately, we played around with like a lot of different ways to do it. I think simple is generally best, and that's what we found here too. We settled on is basically a hybrid way of classifying this. So your first step, some heuristics using those signals that I mentioned. When that's insufficient, you're falling back to a more complicated method of doing things. Still like fairly fast, because in this hot path, when you're making, again, focusing on the unblocker use case, billions of requests per day, you need to account for cost and latency. And of course, as humans, we were able to see that those pages before were blocks. But if we want to do that programmatically, we need to limit the complexity and the latency and the cost of the approach that we're using. So when you waterfall through those first 2 steps and you're unable to classify something, there's still a way to like, incorporate this and have continuous development. And what we do in that instance is fall back on a heavier model that's just storing unexpected formats, collects that, and then feeds back into our heuristics. So we're dynamically updating the heuristics that we use to detect when there's a block, and also like the feature sets and the things that we're classifying receive new examples to improve their behavior as well. Yeah, so I guess if I want to give you guys a recap and 3 things to take away from this talk, it's that having block detection builds trust in your downstream actions, that the status codes, the content, and everything else you can get from servers can be a lie. So you need to make sure you're doing your own research and validating that, and that you should continue. A feedback loop is going to beat some clever, complex approach. Just continually get the content, iterate, and improve your process. Next steps for us, there's a long tail of sites out there beyond the main anti-bot providers that have their wild west of formats. We're continuing to collect data, improve our own process for classifying things here. There's a whole universe of expected outcomes that I didn't even have time to discuss here. There's non-GITs, there's non-HTML, but that would be time for a 2027 chat. So I want to say thanks again to the team at Apify and Massive for having me here. And as I mentioned before, if you're interested in seeing the benchmark, scan the content there. And as I didn't mention before, we're hiring now. We're probably always hiring, so come chat with me if you're interested in joining String.